So let's talk about style and your CV style. Remember, the objective here is to get you and your brilliance across. Okay, your how good you are formulated, packaged into text, into a Word document typically, and then all the way through this process to a human that's hiring, right? To another human that's hiring. So we need a style that is going to work and is efficient and effective. This is usually the biggest problem most people have. How do I start? What do I do? And typically, most people, I think I'm right in saying most people are starting in Word or often Canva or other tools, and they are going File, New, From Template, and just going, that one. I'd like to encourage a bold view, and that is use Word and start typing it yourself. And a lot of people say, no, I need the format. I need the template. Well, let me take you through some example templates, the default ones you'll see in Word. And actually, I'll take you through some Canva ones as well. And let me explain some of the challenges I see with those ones. And then let me show you my preferred layout for a CV. Massive caveat here, there is no wrong answer, okay? And look, as I think I said right at the top of my video in the introduction section, if your CV is blank, but for the words, please hire me, I'm great, and your phone number, if that gets a phone call, right? If that gets you in front of the hiring manager and subsequently gets you the job, it worked. That was right. Okay, so this is the challenge with these things. So let me take you through some example layouts and explain why I don't like them and the challenges I have with those, because these are ones I see a lot on TikTok. And one of the benefits, by the way, of doing these TikTok lives, so I do a lot of TikTok lives where I say, send me a CV. And I ask people to take their contact details off, right? So it's as anonymous as possible, but then we'll put them on screen and show everybody who's watching in the TikTok live, we'll show them the CV and I'll talk through it. Now, what I can say is I've been doing thousands, confidently, I can say thousands of CV reviews in the past month or two. So what I'm going to do is amalgamate that experience, and I see a lot of the templates that we are presented at us in these TikTok lives are from Word, for example. So let me talk you through these, and then let me also give you what I think is a good way ahead, right? Again, no right and wrong answer. Everybody has their favorite perspective here. Just take everything I'm saying with a pinch of salt, right? Okay, so let's begin. Right, okay, so I'm going to take you through some Word examples, then Canva. Let's get Word up. Here we go. And let's get my first one on screen here. Okay, look, here is one CV here. Okay, this is a generic one from Word. And I'll zoom in just a minute, but I wanted to give you this is the one pager, okay? Now, I haven't filled this in, I'm just using the standard one. And let me now explain problems, okay? Some immediate issues. Sometimes the recruiter is going to want to remove your contact details, okay? Because they're selling you, right? You're worth money to them. They'll leave your name on sometimes, but they'll take your email, phone number, etc., off, and LinkedIn, of course. Anything that can identify you. Sometimes they're doing this for confidentiality purposes. But actually, one of the reasons they're doing it is so that the recruiter doesn't want the client going direct to you, because then they sometimes don't get paid, right? So they'll take the contact details off. That's a big issue, because it means that all of a sudden what's the recruiter going to do? They've got your Word document here. The first thing the recruiter's going to do is mess up the beautiful style you've got by going delete. Right. So now what? Now you've got a weird looking CV, okay, that's got no contact. It's all right, okay, as far as the recruiter's concerned. So be aware that that's often happening, okay? Now, the major issue I've got with this type of style, and you'll see me, I'll talk through some others, okay, but I don't like columns. I don't like this 2-column layout because look here, all of a sudden, whoever's made the CV, it looks beautiful, this design, okay? But now they've centered it. So if you follow the template, centering stuff is not going to look very good. So job title, they're prompting you to put your job title first. I don't think that's a useful approach. I prefer company name first. Dates on the right, again, just my preference, okay? And then underneath, I like the job title, but usually it's the company I often find when I'm scanning CVs, it's a company that matters, okay? And then what were you doing for them? Because look, you can be the CEO of your own company, fine, great, right? But typically, I'm looking going, what Netflix, IBM. Now, this does matter, right? People do pick out brands because they can recognize them. That does mean that if you don't have those kind of high profile brands in your CV, sometimes it's worth explaining just in a very quickly what they are, right? I'll come to that. We'll go into this. But this is, I don't like this particular format for, I think, if I summarize, the real reason I don't like this particular format is because you're compressing your experience or the opportunity to say much about you, right? Because you're automatically using 60% of the space when you could have 100%, right? Or 50% of the space. That then means that often the CVs that have been put into this format, the author is writing their bullet points to fit the style. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want your bullet points on your experience. We'll come to this, right? I want them to be amazing. I don't want them to be limited by a particular style. So that's a challenge I have with this particular format. Yeah, an objective. When I see objective here, look at this, right? See, I really worry about this. To get started, use one or two sentences on your objective. Be really sensitive on including an objective in your CV, right? Because the hiring manager, I don't care what your objective is. I really don't care, okay? My objective is to hire someone to fill this position. I'm under a lot of stress. That's my objective. So I'm not here, and every one of those people in that process to getting the CV to me, we're not here to fit your objectives. It's the opposite, right? We're paying. Because I often will see someone will write an objective, and the objective, it sounded good when they were writing it, right? It will say, my objective is to be a data analyst in a really important project doing this. Now, what's crazy is I have seen a situation where you put your objective, okay, and then by writing that, you disqualify yourself because the individual looking goes, no, we were thinking of a data analyst, but it's not in a project. And that, okay, well, I don't want someone, they don't want that. No. If you were given the chance, do you want to be the data analyst in a big project or a data analyst in this thing? You may well be saying, no, that's fine as well. Okay, so be sensitive. If you're putting an objective in, first of all, it can create an emotive response. Okay, and second, it can really, really disqualify you sometimes. But anyway, we're talking about style. Okay, so there's one style. Okay, so I'm going to come to all of the content of CVs in a minute. Let me show you another style. Hold on a minute. This is again from Word. Okay, here's another one. I see this template a lot. And this is where someone, they start typing into this one. Again, beautiful, it looks lovely, nice and bright, very nice. It's starting with skills. Why? I think because the designer thought, we'll start with skills, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean you should be doing that. And we'll come to all this, right? Then we've got an objective. Why? Okay? But again, it's just because the designer has made this look lovely. And it's very nice. I don't like the fact that your experience is being squeezed here. Okay? So it's beautiful. It's really nice. But, okay, let's look at another one. Here's another default one from Word. I think your profile photo could go here or whatever. Nice. So this, I like it a bit better because it's matching more where my preferences lie. But again, for some reason, we can't just have a CV on one column, right? If they're designed, I think the designer goes, no, let's make it nice and cool. Let's have two columns. It's okay. It's all right. But just, I don't like the fact you're massively limiting your experience again. That bothers me. Okay. Now let me show you Canva. So here we go again. I'll zoom in a little bit. These are all. I mean, Canva's a great tool, and it feels like hundreds of different styles and layouts. It's beautiful. And doesn't this look lovely, right? The profile photo, and then some detail, and so on, and great. Okay. Now, same problem I've got. I love it. I think it's really unique, and you'll see there's so many different styles that Canva will give you, right? I've got more below. I worry about this because what's useful here is they filled out some example, right? Some example experience, okay? Here we go. Senior tax auditor, right? 2 bullet points. Then assistant auditor, 2 bullet points. Now, the problem I've got here is they're normalizing you just given some very, very, very limited information, okay? And then you can begin to break the whole style here. If you watch, let me just put bang. I'll try and import it, cut and paste. Is it going to let me? Right, if I want to try and expand it. It begins to break very quickly. That's okay. You just have to make sure you keep that style. Again, it's beautiful, but I'm not getting the information, or you're not getting the information across, I don't think, that you'd want to. So my underlying reality, I'm going to show you how I'd like to do it, right? And how I suggest doing it. But my problem with these styles is, here's another one, okay? It starts with a profile. Why? Because the designer started it with a profile. Why has it got a photo on there? Because the designer thought, let's put a nice photo on there, okay? Often we don't want to see photos, certainly in the UK. They're usually removed from CVs for anti-bias purposes, right? Again, it looks beautiful, but we're getting 3 bullet points, 3 bullet points, 3 bullet points. Here's another one. This is probably the I was looking through Canva to try and find one that was as wide as possible. So I am happier with this, just because you can see the only thing I'm caring about, right? I'm laser focused on making sure we got enough for your experience, okay? So again, this looks lovely, this particular format. Here's another one where with more text on the page, okay? Again, so these do look pleasing. They do look beautiful. There is nothing wrong with this, and sometimes it can really make your CV stand out amongst a whole lot of different ones. If I had to, I'd be choosing something that gives me as much space as possible to show off, right? To say how good I am, right? That frustrates me when I'm getting CVs in from people, and I can read between the lines. I can see, and I can infer they're brilliant. It just doesn't say it. So then from the scanning, right, that 5, 6, 10-second scan, you don't pass. And then if anyone does look, they go, oh, I wish they'd said more. I don't have enough information. Do they get you in for interview or do they not, right? So what I'm hoping is your CV works. And it's got to go work through that whole life cycle, right? So if you have to, I'd be using a format. Yeah, it looks nicer, okay? At least you see instantly, the designer has had to put a lot more sample detail here. We've got 5 bullet points, okay? Now, if I scroll up to some of these other ones, this one here, 2 bullet points, right, per row, and they've only given 2 rows there, right? Often you'll see there's a real problem, but what's the next page look like, right, if you're going over one page. Now, if you do need here's another one here, look, I see this one a lot. This one is very popular. This one, I've seen this one used so many times, this one here, where you get the profile and then again, looks lovely. It's just... So let me stop talking now and start showing, okay? So I've been busy going on about those formats. Do give some thought to the style you'd like to have. There is nothing wrong with making it look different and making it stand out, okay? Now, let me stop sharing there and let me show you how I'd like to do things. Here we go. Now, this will instantly look boring, I would imagine. Okay, now, why I like this is because it's clean, it's clear, and it's very, very easy to edit, and we've got all the space available to show off about you. So this is just something I knocked up. It's quite straightforward format. I've got your name. I've just put that nice and big. Okay. Then contact details here. You see I'm putting them on one line so that if we do need to delete, it still works. Okay. Right. So if someone is wanting to remove your contact details, they can do it very quickly. Right. Then summary. We'll go into all of this. Okay. But a summary here, I've put it on one line. As an example, it could go over to 2. Right, then straight in. This is not appropriate for everybody, but you can see I'm straight into the company, and I've just made up some stuff. This is all made up, right? So company name. So that's my. Let's go for company name first, okay? So do you see that the top half? If I just make this bigger of this document, right? If this is appearing on your screen, right? This is what you're seeing. Now, I would hope that this is enough. If someone in HR or recruitment or whoever or the hiring manager, the top half of the CV on screen, and they're quickly scanning, I would hope that you're picking up very quickly that I am a data analyst for Walt Disney. Here's my current job title. Here are my dates. Right, so I've been doing it for 3 years, 4 years, okay, or whatever the reality. Oh, sorry, no, that's 6, 7, 8 years potentially, right? But then now you can see I've got bullet points straight into the bullet points. Now my preferred format. There is no right or wrong answer, but here's my preferred format. I absolutely love this format where we're using a bullet point. This is all Word default. As you'll see me making it, right? I'm going to make it in a minute. I'll start again. You'll see me making this. It says all default Word. I'm not playing around with anything, just so it's easy and quick to cut and paste and manipulate. Right. So, dates on the right, and by the way, I'm saying sept. I'm not saying 01 17. You see that a lot. My preference is just the date. Just so it's so much quicker, right? When you're looking. So now I start with two or three words. 2 or 3 words in bold. Now I love this, because it feels professional, and because you're immediately offering the person reading the opportunity to scan down, right? So I can scan that, right? So I can scan, right? Okay, left justified. Doesn't mean that's the way the person's going to read it, but we're wanting to try and make sure this is simple and easy to absorb quickly. Now, these keywords are ones that you'd want in there, that if they're the first ones you're seeing, they are very relevant to the role. Okay, so I've suggested reporting dashboard, then I've said Tableau, a piece of software that's quite popular for this. Then I've gone in with a different keyword, and another one's SQL scripting, piece of code, or reference to writing SQL code. Error reduction, I've summarized that there. What I'm doing here with those bullet points, with those 2 words, is hopefully giving you the option to scan down and go, oh, that's interesting. Let me say, oh, SQL script, that's interesting. Now, bold, nice and clean, and then the rest of that bullet point, is now the detail. So these 2 words summarizing, the rest of it is the detail. And then ideally, we want that actionable. So I'm going to go into that in more detail, but this is the format I like. Now, I've broken the format here as an example to say you might really want to show off something that you've done. Again, this is all standard Word. It would have looked like this. New line, then I just press tab to get right. So it's all standard, easy, simple. Now let me come down, and then I've said, look, I'm still at Walt Disney because I haven't done a new header. It's very clean immediately that this is the header, right? This is the separator. Okay, here's me as a data analyst from those dates. Here's more detail, right? And then now I'm on to a company. Now here's a company where I am thinking you may not know, right? We know Walt Disney, but you don't know J&H Sons Limited, okay? Where I worked there for a year doing this thing. And now what I've done here is I've put a little description, okay? Right, just a little description. Now, 1 line, maybe onto 2, depending on what you think. Just something that's showing off and giving context for that company. If the person doesn't know, I think is a good idea. You can very quickly just dump that, right? If you need to, if you choose to, right? Same again. Then we go on to other sections. We'll come to this. So that's a preference I like. Now, I'll figure out a way of attaching this, and there is a default one on my website on highlander928.com. I've got this is downloadable, this kind of format. But actually, I'll show you shortly. I'm going to build this. I'm going to build it again, and you can see how I make it. It's very easy to replicate, right? There's nothing. I've deliberately made it so that it doesn't need any complex template stuff. So let me just summarize why I like this format. I find it clean, clear, simple. Often you're going to want to cut and paste stuff. So again, because we're just using it simple, it's Word. If I need to cut and paste those bullets from a different CV, put them down here, it all works without messing around, right? It's all very simple, easy. I like that. And then you're using the full screen. The full screen. So if someone's reading this, it looks good. Okay. If someone is scanning it, I'm hoping it looks good, right? Clean, clear, and presentable. That's what we're aiming for. Okay, right. There's some perspective on style. Let's move on.